Blog Talk Radio.
Thanks for tuning in to UnScripted, presented by bUneke magazine, because an authentic life is unscripted. bUneke is a 501c3 charity that works today to change tomorrow. Learn more at our website, bUneke.org. That's bUneke.org. Did you know that bUneke is a free, non-profit publication? We work today to change tomorrow by bringing you truly amazing guests like the one we'll introduce tonight, and by highlighting stories about people all over the world who will astound you. The free digital version is available 24/7 at bUneke.org. That's bUneke.org.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Mary Brotherton, and I am with bUneke UnScripted. Tonight, our guest is author Craig Sroda, and one of his quotes is, "Choose a job you love, and you'll never have to work a day in your life," which is not actually Craig's quote. He kind of snatched that from Confucius, but it leads me into why I think Craig and I are going to have a good conversation tonight, because that's exactly what we do at bUneke. We love what we do, and we love the people that we have on our show. So I'd like to just start out by saying welcome, Craig.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So tell me a little bit about your book and the number of people that you hope to influence this year.
Well, the book came out last year, and it's my third one, and I made it intentionally a workbook because I want people to actually do things. Knowledge without application is really nothing, right? So I really wanted people to work, and with the end goal being way more self-aware of who they are, where they're going, and what the mission they want to have in life. And I came up with the one-page life plan, so you could see your life and your plan on one page, so you keep it in front of you. I ran a big Microsoft consulting firm for 20 years, and we used to do it for business. And I thought, hey, this is probably a pretty good idea for people to do for their life, because if the plan gets too many pages, too long, just like in business, it rarely gets executed properly. So keeping it simple, keeping it focused, and being really intentional about the life people want to live. So that's why I wrote it, and I'm hoping to influence 100,000 people here in a few years, because I think it'll make the world a better place.
Well, I think it would definitely make the world a better place if we can keep life simple. The old KISS solution. Keep it simple, sweetie, or silly, or whatever word you want to put on the end. But, I'm thinking putting your life plan on one page seems like it would be extremely simple. How do you get your whole life on a page?
Well, I created the format in the workbook, and it you want to be intentional about it, but we're naturally wired with natural strengths and gifts, and really understanding what those are is step one. Self-awareness. From your love language to whether it's a DISC or Myers-Briggs. I use a lot of these assessments, and it's pretty cool. And I've been mentoring kids, and I have 3 daughters and their friends for a long time, and I haven't had them be off at all. And it really, it gives you affirmation of who you are. Like when I'm mentoring kids, it's they're going to college. What do they want to be? Well, let's start out with how you're wired, what you're naturally gifted with, because you will naturally be stronger. So the self-awareness is the foundation of the one-page plan. And then, I walk people through doing a mission statement, personal mission statement, their core values that will help them guide life, say yes and no to things easier. And the one of the cool things that took me quite a while to come up with was the middle section. We all have 5 domains of our life, right? Your personal, your family, your job, career, whatever you're going to say there, your community, and your faith or belief system. And I wrote the center section is your eulogy. How do you want to be remembered in all those domains? Because it'll help you make decisions today. So when you get towards the end of your chapters, you'll have minimal regrets, and that's a big thing for me. It's just minimizing the regrets. You always have them, but if you live intentional, you got your plan on a page, you should minimize a few things, then help the world be better.
You've said the word intentional at least 3 times, maybe 4. And I know exactly what you're talking about, but I'm betting there are probably some listeners that might not understand how to live with an intentional plan. Can you go into a little more detail with that?
Sure. So, I mean, like when you do a one-page plan, there's you always look at where do I want to be in 10 to 15 years? Then what am I going to do this year to work towards that? And then I broke it down into quarters of each quarter. What do you want to accomplish, whether it's health, education, giving back to the community? And you just work towards that long-term goal. So every day, every week you're intentional about what you're doing and accomplishing, but it's just not a sporadic action of the week, because if you look out and you say, this is what I want to accomplish in 10 or 15 years, it's just laying out a plan, right? And then it doesn't happen overnight. Nothing does, but at least you start taking steps in that direction. And that's intentional to me. And I think intentional living is, not that, you need to go on vacation, you need to replenish yourself and relax. So not every day is all on, and you need that balance. But, what you want to be or what you want to accomplish should be intentional.
So I can't just wake up in the morning and say, let's see where the day takes me.
Yeah, if you're on vacation, yeah. But that's not, through life, the biggest regrets people have in life, the top 2 are I worked too much, was number 2. And the first one is I did what other people told me to do and I didn't do what I wanted to do.
Uh-huh.
And we tend to fall into that trap of listening to other people, and that the principle that we're the average of 5 people we hang around with the most is really, really true. So you got to be careful with that because they'll influence you. And I wrote a blog, a couple months ago, and I put a little timeline in there. I said every 10 years chunks, write down the friends you hung around with and how did they influence you? Were they playing tennis and you played tennis? Do they play golf? You play golf? Do they drink too much and you drink too much? You tend to adopt things when around the people that you hang around the most.
You are 100% correct, because I can actually, when you said that about the timeline, it was almost like my life flashed before my eyes, because I'm certainly old enough that I can look back at decades of time and say, when I was in my 20s, I did this because these were my friends. When I was in my 30s, I was raising my children. So, of course, their friends and their friends' parents were in my circle. So I did things according to that. And then as I got older and I chose different people for different reasons, and now my entire life is so different because of the people that I've associated with that are connected to this nonprofit, bUneke, and it's pretty sobering to realize and look back even a year ago at how my life has changed just by being more intentional, being more mindful of who I associate with. I'm actually going to sit down, I think, and go over my life in 10-year increments and think about who I was with. That's I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool when you think about it. I mean, but you got to be, I challenge people all the time, be the dumbest in one of the groups you're hanging out with. We all have groups that we hang out in.
Yeah.
You should be the dumbest you should be the dumbest in one of them.
Why?
Because you don't want to be the smartest one in everyone, because then you're not going to learn. You know, and you should be in a constant learning. So you should have at least one of the groups that where you're like, man, I feel dumb, or man, I don't understand this, but I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn, you know, because you're either growing or dying. We know that. But being aware of one of the groups you hang around with, and just make sure you feel a little uncomfortable in it, because it means you're growing, because we grow out of our comfort zone, not in it, right?
Well, yeah, because if you grow into your comfort zone, I think you become too internalized.
Yeah, and you don't stretch yourself. You know, you got to be uncomfortable. But just,
and you have to stretch to grow. I mean, if you think 100%. About, you know, now is the time of year that things are blooming, and you know, people are doing their gardens, or you see flowers. Those things all started out as a dead little seed, but you put them in the ground and then they stretched up toward the sun. And now they have this beautiful flower that's attracting bees and hummingbirds and butterflies. So if we chose to not grow and stretch, we would never attract the beautiful things that come into our life. I like that. You mentioned something a minute ago that really only came into my awareness within probably the last 3 years, the love languages. I know there are 5 love languages, and you mentioned that as a component of your book. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, it's a funny thing. It's a really simple test. A lot of people don't know about it, and it's weird, but you know, I love the books. I think Chapman and a couple other people have a couple books on it, but I had it wrong for the first 10 years of my marriage. You know, I'm married 26 years, and I always thought it was task, you know, and but then I started doing the research, and when I'm growing, because I'm a forever learner. I just love learning, and it ended up being time. My wife's time. Most guys are touch, you know, but 80% of them anyway. But once I understood that about my wife, our relationship changed drastically, because I was out, you know, doing things, cutting the grass, cleaning, I thought it was tasks that would fill her love tank per se, but it was just like, just be with me, sit down, let's watch a movie together, let's hang out, let's cook dinner together. And it's really important to know your love language, you know, and I've seen it change a lot of people in their relationship, because it's getting it on the table. It's like, no, this is what fills my love tank. You know, you got your touch, you got your time, your gifts, and then words of affirmation. So you just really need to understand what is your love language, and be open about discussing it, you know?
And wouldn't you also say, Craig, that it's important not just to know your love language, but the love language of your spouse or significant other, as well as the other people in your world, like a business partner or your adult children?
Absolutely. When I helped run a couple companies after I sold my technology company about 6-7 years ago, and I always challenge people. You know, I send out these newsletters on, you know, do the 16 personalities, which is Myers-Briggs, but it's free online. It's great for kids. But then I had them do the love language. I said, and make sure you have your spouse do it and talk about it. And I had numerous people come up to me and say, wow, that was just a mind-opening for our relationship. You know, it's just like really, really cool. So, and you know, especially with your partner, your spouse, you know, that's when you really should key in on, and it does make a difference, you know?
Yeah, I think it's important if you have any kind of relationship with anybody to at least know, you know, what makes them tick, and what, like you said, what fills up their love tank, so that you know how to have a conversation, if nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I had it wrong for the first 10 years of my life, and with my wife, and I'm like, wow, it's a game changer.
All that work you did for nothing. But you know, it's like if I felt that I needed gifts, and my husband was not a gift giver, it would not work out well.
Yeah, it is just, again, be self-aware and intentional in life. Life is a little bit easier when you know a few things like this, and that's what I'm trying to achieve with the book.
I think that's very cool. And the book is called The Ultimate Manual, right?
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to take a break here, and then we'll come right back to you, Craig.
Great, thanks.
If you like the show tonight, let us know. Call 321-417-4309 or email mary@bUneke.org to ask how you can sponsor the show. It's simple and doesn't have to cost much at all. Visit bUneke.org for even more details. That's bUneke.org. Join the global world changers who already know how bUneke helps bring together like-minded humans who are making the world a better place. Read the magazine and blog posts, watch our videos, listen to our podcast, and visit our social media from one location, and let's work together. Change tomorrow by finding solutions today. Visit bUneke.org to learn more. That's bUneke.org.
Welcome back. We are bUneke Unscripted. I'm here with author Craig Sroda. His mission is to guide people toward ways that work for them to live their lives intentionally. And we've been talking about the Myers-Briggs personality assessment and love languages and living intentionally, and even talking about grandchildren, but that was kind of off the air. But one of Craig's goals is to influence 100,000 people to create their own life plan by the year 2022. Craig, I'd like for you to talk a little bit about your idea about the ripple effect. What do you think is going to happen if you get just 100,000 people to actually create their life plan?
Well, the principle is, if you know who you are, you're in the role at work or whatever you do in life, you're going to be naturally happy. And me owning a technology company for so many years, I'd see people when they weren't in their sweet spot, where their passion and strengths intersect, and they wouldn't be happy at work, and then they go home unhappy, and then it affects the family life, and then that affects the community because the kids or whatever. It's just a negative ripple effect. But if you are happy at your vocation or whatever you do during the day, you go home happy. It's not a negative drain on the family, and then it's not a negative drain on the community. So it's just a more positive effect that happens with everybody around, especially across all those domains of life. And another thing I'm trying to get across is work is not everything to you, right? So you got the 5 domains, like I mentioned, of your life: your personal, your family, your job, your community, and your faith. And people think that their job is their whole world. And if the job has a bad day or whatever, they get all upset and they go home really, really mad. But your job or vocation is only 1/5 of who you are. So you can have a bad day and say, oh, it's okay. But the ripple effect is being fulfilled at work or whatever you do during the day, and then going home and making that positive energy just happen in the family and the community. And that's the ripple effect.
Okay. I remember reading that the Ultimate Manual has been called a personal life coach in a book. Do you actually think it's possible that somebody can read this book and have the same effect as if they hired a life coach?
Yes. And it depends on the person and the discipline factor, but part of this is quarterly checkups. You set quarterly plans, and you definitely try to get an accountability partner, which is a friend that is going to be honest and truthful with you, to say, hey, you're not hitting your goals, or I don't think that's a real goal. So you got to find somebody that's going to be a true friend that can be candid and honest. And, when you really put your thoughts and plans down on a page and then you start executing against it, you're either doing it or you're not. So you got to look in the mirror. Having a friend to cover your blind spots is really, really important. I think we all got about 30% blind spots that we should have somebody covering for us. But yeah, it certainly can guide you through a lot in life, especially if you have an accountability partner or a friend that really will shoot straight with you.
Now, I think I know what you're talking about, but I want you to clarify what you mean by a blind spot.
Well, and I've been saying this for a long time. I think, I know I have 30% blind spots. So you think one way, and somebody says, well, did you think about this? Or did you think about this? And you're like, heck no, I didn't think about that. So you're just totally off your radar because you're so set on the goal or the vision or where you're going. You're not thinking about some of the alternatives that somebody needs to put a light on for you. It's just stuff that you did not realize. And it happens all the time.
And is that probably because of maybe the way we were raised? We let's say, I was raised with 7 siblings. So having a small family was a big eye-opener for me, because I was raised in a very small house with a lot of people, and so there were certain things that I just assumed. Like when I married my husband, he has a single sister who's quite a bit older than him, so he was raised almost like an only child. So he was accustomed to a quieter lifestyle. Where when I was raised, we had a lot of noise and a lot of grabbing and a lot of, me first type attitude. So I'm guessing maybe the blind spot is just assuming that everybody talks and thinks like I do.
Yeah. And even if you have a plan or a thought, hey, I'm going to climb this mountain this way because it's the only way I'm going to climb it. And then there's a stairs on the other side. Did you think about taking the stairs? Do you think about this path? And you're like, no. You're just simple stuff like that because you're just set. This is the way I'm going. And,
gotcha.
Just real things like that,
That I hadn't even thought about that, but it's just a different perspective. Sometimes you need, and that's why you mentioned an accountability partner. You just need somebody to help you focus on the things that you're not seeing.
Right. And when you set these goals, you just want somebody to validate, not to tell you they're right or wrong, but just to say, man, that makes sense, or, hey, I think you might be missing something here. And it's really good to have a second pair of eyes on things, and just, and if you don't hit your goals and then you go next quarter to meet with them, it's like, what happened? Were you not all in on that, or are you just playing here? Just some truth, truth conversation.
Okay. Well, I guess that's why a lot of programs work better in groups. That's why there are gyms. You go in the gym, everybody can take a walk. Anybody can ride a bicycle. Anybody can lift weights. But if you go into a gym, there are people there to make you accountable. So it's the same principle.
And it is 100% that. My wife and I did the garage gym with the body combat Les Mills thing, and when people are there waiting on you and you're accountable to them, it's 5:30 in the morning. You may not want to get out of bed, but people are going to be waiting on you. You get up out of bed.
Right. You mentioned earlier something about having a real goal. So can you clarify the difference between a fake goal and a real goal?
Yeah. I want to have $1 million, but there's no plan. I'm like, let's break that down a little bit more. Okay. How about you want to make $50,000 this year? And it's just too far. I like stretch goals. Don't get me wrong at all. But, I want to be a bodybuilder in 3 years, right? You really got to make sure it's realistic. Every goal should be, the acronym is SMART, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and has some kind of time bound to it. So if you use that SMART acronym, that'll validate that the goal is realistic and attainable. And otherwise, you should always validate your goals with that to make sure it is realistic. And you got a time that you set. Otherwise, you'll never hit it.
That if I say I want to make $1 million before I die, and I get hit by a bus tomorrow, that's not very reasonable. And if I say I want to make $1 million before I die, and I live to be 99 and a half, but I don't do anything toward it, it's not very attainable. So I like that. I've read about the SMART goal setting comes in very handy.
Yeah.
Something else that you talk about in your book, which is not a big book, is it? It's just a little over 200 pages, I think.
Yeah,
so it's not like a gigantic book. It's something that people can...
I'm sorry.
No, I was just thinking, a 200-page book, I think it's 230-something, is certainly not intimidating. And a lot of people think in terms of how big a book is, how much I have to read, how much I have to do before I can get to the good stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of the pages are meant to be filled out, too. I mean, so they're exercises, and again, it's a workbook, so it's a lot easier to go through than some of the things I've seen out there. And I like people to, at the end of the day, to have that one-page life plan with an execution plan. And I go through some, in the last chapter or last section, I go through some tips and tricks on using technology or manual plans to hold yourself accountable to execute.
And I would imagine it's probably one of the hardest things is for somebody to hold themselves accountable. Unless they're disciplined.
Yeah, but again, if anybody that is going to get this book and they want to live intentionally and they want to just be happier, at work or as a person, health, have fun in life, it starts with you. There's that. It's not one day or day one. I heard that term before. It's like you just got to start. And perfection is the enemy of progress. Say that all the time. You just got to start. You don't think they have to have this perfect plan, this perfect day, and that's not true. You just got to start, and you keep tweaking, and you keep moving towards. It's good to have your long-term. I'd like to have this in 10 years or 20 years, whatever that time period is. But you just got to start walking towards it.
Well, the first step to a marathon is the first step. You can't win a marathon if you don't get up off the couch.
True.
So it makes absolute sense that you need to just say, okay, well, today is the day. I'm going to start. And you don't have to wait until you have the perfect set of circumstances.
The whole thing is self-awareness. The more you can be self-aware of you'll execute against a plan that you'll naturally be happier because you're operating in a natural state versus a forced state.
I've seen a lot of people who go through life pretending to be happy.
Oh, and all the time. Yeah, it's the doctor's sons that are doctors because their dad was a doctor, but their natural strength isn't a doctor, right? I've seen that.
Exactly.
We've all heard those. Always, you hear those stories all the time. It's like, man, I'm just miserable. And I tried to. My oldest daughter, I wanted her to go to Purdue and get her business degree, and she did it. She's a left-handed creative. And I said, she wanted to go to cosmetology school, Aveda. And I'm like, why don't you just go get a business degree and then do that afterwards, because then you can run your own salon. And after 2 years, she was just miserable. She came home and said, Dad, this is not me. I said, I tried it for 2 years. As a dad, I finally heard her. I said, done. She went to Nashville, went to Veda. She's living in Brentwood and just killing it, and it's, she's in her natural state.
And she's happy.
Really, really,
and that's ultimately what a parent wants, right?
Right.
Craig, I'm going to take a break, and then I want to come back and talk to you a little bit more about self-awareness.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question. Do you prefer coffee or tea? This is a question we ask on our fun and informative millennial talk show called Coffee or Tea, No Phones Allowed. And why do I know? Because I'm Anna. I'm one of the co-hosts. It's a great time. It's a professionally edited weekly series that's free to watch on bUneke's YouTube channel. That's bUneke. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode, and leave us a comment with your topic or guest recommendations. We love hearing from you.
And we're back. I'm talking with Craig Sroda, who has written the book called The Ultimate Manual. It's packed with valuable information on how to accomplish living your life intentionally. And Craig and I have been talking about a whole variety of things. And when we left, I told him I wanted to come back to self-awareness, because I can tell that Craig is self-aware. I'd like to think that I am. And I know that that's kind of a buzzword. People talk about mindfulness, intentionally living your life, and being self-aware. But what do you say to someone, Craig, who says, I don't know what that means. I don't know how to be self-aware?
Well, I start out with, having them take the quick 16 personalities assessment. I said, well, if you don't know what it means, let's just try it. It's 4 minutes. What do you got to lose? And when I mentor kids and friends and people and whatever else, they take the assessment and they can instantly relate, because there's these personalities there's just 16 of them, plus there's a variable on the end of them. But it just gives you confidence of, oh, this is who I am. And it gives you examples of the people that are like you, and maybe some potential careers that are, schooling or whatever else that you should be looking into. And I just haven't had it been wrong yet, and if they say, I don't know what that means, I'm like, well, just take the test and read it. It's just going to tell you about you and how you're naturally wired and what you should kind of be capitalizing on. It's your strengths. It's good to know about your weaknesses, but you don't want to fix them. You just got to be aware of them. For myself, I know, Myers-Briggs, I know who I am, an extrovert, and I'm a little assertive. And I'm, the disc profile, I'm a high D, high I. That means I don't want to do maintenance work. I want to create things. I want to build things. I want to lead things. And maintenance is not something that is going to motivate me. It's just not a strength of mine. And people really get it. 4 or 5 minutes, 16 personalities. I just highly recommend it. And it's pretty cool to see. When I first started doing this, my daughter and her boyfriend had some, they're having problems communicating, and so they both took them, and then they said, oh, and this is why I act like this. This is why I respond like this. So it helps out with communication between friends and your family.
And you mentioned excuse me, my throat just went berserk on me. You mentioned weaknesses and how you don't want to dwell on them. But is there a way to take someone's weakness and turn it into a strength? Being aware of it is the key, right? And turning,
it's better to capitalize on your strengths, but covering your weaknesses, either at work, it's finding somebody that loves doing the stuff that you don't love. And there are people, it's pretty cool. It's like a puzzle. I ran a big company here, and when I did all the assessments on people, I'm like, okay, we need somebody to cover that part of the role, and you start changing the roles. And even in life, my wife and I do the same thing. She's a great cook, chef, and and I just can't coordinate that, but I'll take care of the other things. And we kid around and say I'm the sous chef, which means I clean up, right? But it's just which means, you just got to be aware of your weakness, I guess, to answer that question, and make sure you have it covered either by somebody else or it's just made aware that you don't leave it open.
That's why my husband calls me Takeout Tammy, because cooking is not my strength. I can cook. I just don't like to think about cooking all the time. So to balance out my weakness, we do takeout every now and then. And that way I don't feel like I'm being forced into the kitchen all the time.
Yeah, because you don't want to be there if you don't get like a natural happiness out of it, because then it feels like a chore, and then double effect, right?
Exactly. And I think that's part of your self-awareness is what you are good at, what you're not good at. And just like, if I decided that I want to work in my garden, but I'm not so good at moving these big, gigantic rocks, then maybe I need to hire somebody to do that for me. It makes a lot of sense. You find your weakness and you balance it out.
Yeah, Marcus Buckingham has a Strength Finders book, and that's part of one of the assessments I like people to do if they can. It's the only one that everything else is free except for that one in my book, or the assessment, and it's optional. But we're all wired with 5 natural strengths, and and those don't change. The DISC and the Myers. The DISC can change a little bit over time, but that's more business oriented. Myers-Briggs usually stays really stable, and your 5 strengths, they don't change. Even I had my daughters take them early on. I tried to make them a little bit more aware from early age, but you just got to ride that journey out. Exactly.
And everybody's journey is a different path sometimes, but we all tend to end up in the same place. I wanted to circle back to something that we talked about earlier. We were discussing love languages, and you said that your wife's love language was just, spending quality time, and you had thought that doing tasks was her love language, but you didn't mention what your love language is.
Mine?
Yours.
Mine is touch.
Okay.
And like most guys, I think 80% of guys are touch. It's whatever that means, but it doesn't mean anything crazy. It's just like scratch my back, hold my hand,
Exactly.
or watch the movie. It's just kind of that kind of stuff is what makes me feel my love tank.
But I think that's a win-win for you in your relationship, because if all she wants to do is hang out with you, and all you want to do is touch her, then you can sit there and hold her hand, or, maybe nudge her elbow when you're working in the kitchen together, or whatever it happens to be. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. And it's, again, knowing what they are and being conscious and being intentional about it.
I think the intentionality is the key, probably. As long as it's not done by accident.
Yeah. You don't want to wander through life, right? When you get up and it's fun to have vacations, don't get me wrong, and have spontaneity and all that. But, accomplishing things and having a mission statement for yourself and the friends and family you have around, it's pretty cool when you start living on purpose.
It is indeed. And I have, like I told you before the show, I have two sons, and my oldest one, he knew when he was about 14 what his life was going to be, and he has pretty much lived it out to that by the letter. He joined the Navy, retired from the Navy. He's been very regimented in his life. His brother, however, was more like a cork on the ocean, and he just bobbed around letting life happen to him. And then within the last 5 or 6 years, he realized that life wasn't going the way he wanted it to. So he started living life intentionally, and it's been phenomenal to watch him blossom. I think I need to get him your book.
It's fun. I think Tony Robbins says that life isn't happening to us; life is happening for us, and you gotta just embrace it.
Absolutely. If you let life happen to you, then you're always a victim.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't want to be a victim of circumstances, then you have to let life happen for you, and you have to manage it yourself. And I think that's kind of the goal behind the Ultimate Manual, isn't it?
Correct.
That's really cool. I have to stop for one more moment, and I need to let my throat clear out a minute.
Okay.
Back.
I'm inspired to give back by the many individuals who are making a difference and taking steps to make the world better. Many people are tackling problems by themselves and thinking they are all alone in their efforts to make a change. I want them to know they are not going unnoticed. The world is watching. I'm part of a team helping to project their voices on a global scale. Small charities and solo entrepreneurs are doing amazing things but don't have the budgets to market themselves. Like many people, I once struggled in a variety of jobs I didn't care for, so I decided to find a new way to give back, to pay it forward, and to be the change. While some people my age are considering retirement, I've joined other professionals to create and manage a nonprofit organization called Peace Corps. The words that create our name tell only a small part of our giving story. We are philanthropists, educators, activists. We are compassionate, evolving, charitable, optimistic, responsible, and enthusiastic. We created Peace Corps so we can use our natural talents to help others. We work with nonprofits, individuals, and for-profit organizations that have a philanthropic outlook. Peace Corps uses several tools to give a voice to those that otherwise might not be known outside their small local circles. bUneke magazine is released monthly and printed on demand. This digital interactive publication doubled in size within 5 months. During that same time, it attracted almost 60 volunteers from 12 countries and across the USA. These volunteers are professionals. They're performers and writers, editors, researchers, videographers, photographers, crew members, and so much more. Coffee or tea, no phones allowed? This fun show is hosted by millennials and provides insight into what they're thinking, but it's by no means intended to appeal only to that generation, as evidenced by their topics and their guests. Because our volunteers know that we are giving 100% of our beings to this organization, they are meeting us on our terms. Nobody earns anything. Yet we all work as if we are earning six-figure incomes. That is the epitome of giving. Curating the stories and creating a high-quality literary-style publication that not only highlights the good work of others, but projects positivity and inspiration gives me purpose. By giving myself to this organization, others want to give to Peace Corps. We have created a global giving circle.
Welcome back. We are here with Craig Sroda, the author of The Ultimate Manual. He has a mission to guide people towards ways that work for them to live their lives intentionally. And we have talked about so many things this evening. It's kind of been mind-boggling, all the things that we've actually touched on. We've talked about people using their strengths and their emotional intelligence. We've talked about love languages and how that affects your life plan. I think about the only thing we haven't really talked about is something that you mentioned called the legacy thinking. Can you explain a little bit more about that, Craig?
Yeah, legacy. A lot of people refer to that, and it has an ego, tone to it, and it's thinking of how you want to be remembered, And my wife and I did a seminar at St. Mary's, and I challenged some people on it, and because your legacy, people think your legacy starts when you're dead, right? But your legacy really starts today, and you start doing things of how you want to be remembered, and and you apply it to your kids, when you're gone, you're the one that helped them change direction, change their trajectory, and that your legacy can start being built today. And it's just a way different thought process versus when I'm dead, this is what I want to be remembered by, and I'm going to have this building with my name on it or whatever. It's just, when it's kind of like, I think Simon Sinek talks about you're playing a finite game or an infinite game. We know we're all going to die on this earth, but who you impacted can continue on. And that's kind of the legacy that I start thinking about, and I challenge people to think about too. Did you help people be better? Did you pass along the traits to your kids that made you you? We always want better for our kids, but sometimes we forget to give them what made us, the character side. So there's a lot there to unpack, but it's really about starting thinking about it and applying it today versus waiting till towards the end of your life.
Yeah, because toward the end of my life, I'm going to be pretty old and tired.
We all are, right?
That's the plan anyway. Where can people buy your book, The Ultimate Manual?
It's on all the major sites, but Amazon is primarily where people go to get it right now. And then I have a website. My blog site is craigsroda.com, just my first last name, CraigsRoda.com. And I also have theultimatemanual.com, which has some free downloads, the templates for the one-page plan, an example, the life wheel, and there's some downloads that I'll continue to add on that site so people can download them for free.
We like free. Free gets our attention. How about social media? Where can people find and follow you?
I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. It's just Craig Sroda. If you just search that, I'm on all those. And again, if you hit my blog site, I blog on Wednesdays about just tools, tips about living life, being intentional, things to learn. That's craigsroda.com, and all the links are there. But I blog on Wednesdays. Sroda means Wednesday in Polish, so that's why I do it.
I didn't know that. I just learned my first Polish word.
Yeah, I'm on every calendar in Poland, right?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was doing some stream of consciousness journaling the other day, and it came out that I wanted to write and speak fluently in 5 languages, but I don't want to study for it. So I'm on my way. This is my this would be my 5th language to learn a word in. Not quite fluent there, but we're working on it.
Hey, just don't remember, perfection's the enemy of progress. Just start, right?
Exactly, just start. Kind of like the Nike slogan, just do it, but just start. It's going to be the Sroda slogan, I suppose.
There you go.
So you have a plan to influence 100,000 people to create a life plan by the year 2022. If you reach 100,000 people before then, would you like to come back and tell us about it?
Absolutely.
Excellent, because I would love to have you come back, and I'd like to follow your story and make sure that I know where you are and get to know you a little bit better. This is awesome. I've enjoyed talking with you.
Well, I enjoyed talking with you too, and I appreciate what you're doing out there. It's pretty cool. and I wish you all the best.
Well, thank you so much. We just celebrated our first anniversary, and we just brought in our 19th country for volunteer writers. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
Wow, that's excellent. That's congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, I'm going to press a button here, and I will let Anna take us out of the show. Thank you so much, Craig. I really enjoyed talking with you.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening this evening. We're happy you chose to spend this time with us, and we hope you learned as much as we did. Be sure to come back the first and third Thursday of each month for more exciting guests, and if you'd like us to invite you or someone you know to speak right here, just go to bUneke.org and contact us there. That's bUneke.org.